You are listening to Unified Through Chronic and Mental Illness with your hosts, Angie Roberts and Kimberly Murphy. Please be advised that some of the topics of this podcast can be triggering and sensitive in nature.
"10 minutes of journaling a day helps improve memory, is more effective than mindfulness meditation, and decreases anxiety and stress. Also, it improves immune function."
Hey guys, welcome to Unified. This week's episode is about the positive effects of journaling. We will be putting some journal prompts throughout the podcast so you all can get a feel for what we're talking about.
Research revealed that association of written words help to make an experience or trauma less intense. Negative feelings can cause a part of the brain called the amygdala to increase in activity. This part of the brain activates alarms used to protect yourself. But once you begin to journal and the prefrontal region of the brain is used, there's reduced response from the amygdala.
Okay, so our first journal prompt is, what can I tell people to help them understand where I'm coming from during flare-ups? What do you think, Angie?
For me, I try to describe it. I describe it as like the flu times 10, getting hit by a Mack truck.
You're right. That's a good description.
Especially the fibro. So during the flare-ups, I try to describe it. I try to be calm with other people so that they can kind of understand me, but I have kind of come to an understanding that other people that don't want to understand won't understand at all.
Right, exactly. You shouldn't waste time trying to
Right.
make people who are committed to misunderstanding you. So, yeah. I agree with the Mack truck thing. I didn't even think of that. I say that all the time too, by the way. Okay, so for me, it's the spoon theory that I use because, again, like you, I kind of like have this understanding that other people are just not really going to get it. So for me, I use the spoon theory, and if people are not familiar with the spoon theory, they can look it up. It's actually quite popular with the chronic illness community. It basically describes that, you have so many spoons that you can use a day and everything costs a spoon. And once you run out, that's it, you're done. So like, taking a shower could cost a spoon. So usually what I say, like to my husband especially, because I've taught him the spoon theory, he'll be like, "Are you out of spoons?" So he gets it. And I use it with, friends that are not my chronic illness friends, and they seem to sort of understand that. It's just like an easier way to explain it. So
I think it's a good way to explain it too. So journal prompt number 2 is, what do I need help with? Yeah. I put getting rid of mental trauma. I need help getting rid of my mental trauma because it's just going to help me live a better life for me, my son and I. So I want to get rid of all that, and it'll make me just a happier person. So that's what I need help with.
Yeah, because trauma is like this bag full of bricks, and you're just lugging it around, and you just want to set it down, but you know what I mean, but you don't know how.
Right, exactly.
I need help with that one too, but my biggest issue is boundaries. So I grew up in a situation where there really weren't any, so I thought that was normal. So as I got older and also became sort of one of these people that's sort of a caretaker, wants to take care of everybody else's issues, it was hard for me because people would push to see how much they could get away with. Certain kinds of toxic people would do that and walk all over me. And then I would have a really hard time saying no to them. So I never really learned those boundaries. I never was in a situation where I even knew that we could have them, you know what I mean? Until I was older. And then, I needed to learn the skills. So I would say that is the biggest thing that I need help with learning, and that would change my life for the positive. Learning how to keep boundaries up and also still be able to be the helper that I naturally am.
One of the benefits of journaling is it reduces stress. It's an incredible stress management tool. They're saying that even 10 to 20 minutes 3 times a day over a 4-month period will lower your blood pressure, which I think is a very interesting stat.
So they're saying that just 10 minutes a day, if you write it down, you can't use the computer. You have to actually physically write because that's how it changes the pathways. But if you do 10 minutes of journaling a day, it will actually change the way you feel about the traumas in your life if you're writing about them. So I think that's amazing.
I think it is too. Yeah, and it's
Mm-hmm.
hard, but these prompts, I think, not, these prompts or any prompts that you use, I think are great to help you open up.
Yeah, they help you with the writing process because otherwise you're like, what am I going to write about today?
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm. And then, I mean, if you have a therapist, you can take your journal to the therapist and talk about something that you've written that you need help with. If it's, triggered you and opened up like wounds in yourself. So, I mean, it is a helpful tool for that as well, I would think.
Yeah, I think so too. I just recently started journaling, and I will be sharing my journal with my therapist because it opens up so much,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah, I haven't actually
they
done it
have to
yet.
know too.
Yeah, they do. I haven't done it yet, and I'm going to be starting a new therapist in the second week of December. So I will be doing both, and it'll be interesting to see how it helps.
Yeah, I think it's gonna help you great. I think it's gonna help you a lot.
I hope so. I think so too. Okay, so the next question is the next journal prompt that we have is there something I'm not allowing myself to feel? If so, why?
So, Kim, you want to go first on this one?
Sure. All right,
No.
so I know this is a hard one, isn't it? So
Yeah.
recently, so everybody that's been listening knows that I have this huge love for cats. They're not just my cats, they're my family. And recently, one of my fur babies, Gracie, developed nasal lymphoma, and she died 2 Fridays ago. And ever since then, I've been trying to keep myself incredibly distracted. Because if I'm distracted, I'm not thinking about it. But then at the end of the day, I feel guilty because I didn't think about it. Because I feel like if I don't think about it, I'm losing her. So it's
Right.
just a strange balance, and uh, I think a lot of it has to do with the last cat that I lost, Zen, who I loved very dearly, and I cried every day for a year. I just couldn't help it.
Aw.
Yeah, and the first thing I said when Gracie died was, "I can't cry for a year," because I was just like,
Right.
I can't go through this again. So I have been distracting myself and trying not to think about it, which is not healthy. And so I do, and you know that my life is like super crazy busy right now, anyways.
Very much so.
I think when that slows down, I'm going to be hitting some sort of wall that says, okay, you have to deal with this now for real.
Right. I
But
think you will
distraction
too.
is what I'm doing. Yeah. So what about you?
Well, mine would be not allowing myself to be at peace with my best friend's death. She was murdered. She was a victim of a domestic violence, and it's always a what if I could have, what if I could have, and I know there's nothing I could have done, but there's still those questions in my mind, so I'm still not at peace with that yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say definitely that I'm not allowing myself to feel peace.
Yeah. That
Um,
I
it's
couldn't.
been a few years, and it's time to get to that place.
I imagine she wouldn't want you to be unhappy.
Right. She wouldn't. Not at all. She wouldn't want anybody to be upset at all.
Mm-hmm.
Journal prompt number 4. Is there something you're not accepting help with? I'll go first on that one. I'm currently getting all the help I could find.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not sure if there is really anything that I'm not accepting help with.
Which is good.
Right.
And I mean,
I'm
you're reaching out for help that you're not getting.
right. I am. I'm just looking everywhere for it lately.
Yeah,
I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna
I
find
hope you
that
do.
peace.
I hope you do. I hope you do.
What about
Um,
you?
well, for me, I just talked about it because, you know, I'm okay. So I'm not accepting a lot of help around the house right now, which I should be. My husband's helping me when I ask him to, of course. But a lot of time I'm like, no, 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 no. I have it figured out. I want to do it. And it's because I'm trying to distract myself. Like I just
Right.
said, I don't want to be grieving right now. So anything I can do to keep myself not thinking about it is what I've been doing. So that's definitely an area that I'm not accepting help with.
Yeah. It's a process. It's just
Hmm.
a huge process.
Yeah, it's hard, but it is what it is, and that's what it is, as you say, right?
That is what I say.
Hmm. So another benefit of journaling is that it improves immune function, it decreases the risk of illness, and it strengthens immune cells, which is really interesting. Like you're writing in a book and it's increasing your immune function. Think about that.
It does. The mind and the body all goes together. And
Hmm.
when we have poor mental function, we have poor immune function. It's been proven. So our next journal prompt is there a way that I can be treating myself better during this time?
And this time is
Uh,
like really hard because
yeah,
COVID and everything. Yeah, this is a really
yes.
good question right now.
I need to give myself plenty of grace and forgiveness. I'm a single mom, so you can get hard on yourself a lot.
Hmm.
Um, so I need, like I said, I just need to,
Go easier.
yes, I just need to go easier on myself. I need to be less temperamental with myself and just try and give myself plenty of grace and plenty of space to mess up because everybody messes up.
Exactly. And like you are really non-judgmental towards other people, so you should never be judgmental towards yourself.
Right. I try not to be judgmental towards other people. I really do.
Hmm. Yeah. For me, it's that I need to like allow myself to have time for myself to like just do what I have to do for me and
Right.
not feel selfish about it. Because to me, it feels really selfish. Uh, if I take a day off and I know I have something to do, I feel guilty. So I just need to treat myself better in that way, that I deserve it just as much as anybody else that I'm helping.
Absolutely. You deserve it more,
Thank
even
you.
because you're such a great person, Kimberly. You really do deserve your
Thank you. And
happiness and
you can't give if you don't have, right? So you have
so
to
true.
fill up your cup. You have to fill up your cup. Um, okay, so the next prompt is, what are 3 things I can ask for that will help me manage my day a little bit better? What do you got?
I got me time because I get none of that.
That's
Um,
true.
a pill box
Hmm.
and an alarm for my pills because if I don't have those two things, I will forget what is going on with my medication and then have my mind all screwed up. So we can't have
Right.
that.
Right, right. Okay, so mine, I also picked Pillbox because, again, like if you don't have a pillbox, you all should have a pillbox. Because how many times have you been like, did I take my pills already? That was my big issue. And so either I wouldn't take them or I would take too many. So a pillbox was a lifesaver. And then this is going to sound funny, but a seat cushion for the car. And it helps. It helps me when I'm driving because my back, I have arthritis in the middle of my back, and I didn't realize it would help so much with my back, but it does. And then quiet time because I get to a point as a introvert where like I need to recharge. And if there's like a lot of noise in the house, and this is funny because I have so many animals, but if there's a lot of noise in the house or something, I can get pretty cranky, like I just need that quiet time. So,
I can totally understand that too. With
right.
fibromyalgia, you can get overstimulated very easily, and that happens to me a lot. So I can
Yeah,
understand how that
actually,
would be.
now that you say that, I think that's part of it because in lupus it's the same way.
All
And I
right.
hadn't thought of that till you just said it. Yeah.
Journaling can also improve your memory function. It increases memory and comprehension, increases working capacity of your brain, and broadens your IQ even, which is
Wow.
interesting.
That is interesting. I would like to know more about that, but I just think it increasing memory is so good for people with brain fog because we all have issues making like my
Yes,
memory is so bad, especially when I'm stressed. Like I don't remember anything when I'm stressed out.
I totally understand. Yeah, I'm the same way.
So, I mean, I could definitely use that. I'm all for that. So the next journal prompt is there anything I have control over? I kind of find this as a positive question.
First, I wrote over my actions, but I like that I have to remember that I have control over my reactions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because reactions can happen so fast. Um,
Right.
they're not as planned out in your brain. They're
That is a good one.
uh, at a moment's notice. I have control over that, and I am in control over myself. So that is something that I have control over, and I know that I can have control over every day,
Mm-hmm. And it's a difficult one,
whether
but
I
it's
choose to or not. That's the
right.
thing.
Right. Oh,
Some
that's
people
true.
don't choose to have control over their reactions. They just let themselves fly, and that's where we get in trouble.
Right. I agree.
Don't fly.
I think yeah, don't fly. Stay on the ground. Um, stay grounded. There we go.
Stay grounded.
Don't fly. Stay grounded. There's a mantra in there somewhere. So is there anything I have control over? I have control over my perspective. So we all know that we can. There's a situation and we can look at it in two different ways, probably
Right.
five different ways, but I'm just going to say two different ways for the sake of conversation right now. Like you can look at something and say, oh my God, this is so hard. I don't know how today's going to be horrible, just like yesterday, and just like create all this anxiety in our minds. Or we can say, I'm lucky that I'm here today. I get to have a day. I'm going to do the
Right.
best I can to have a good day. Um, you know, in even harder situations, I can say, and I'm talking about Gracie again. Sorry, guys. I could say, it's not fair. It's really horrible. I don't understand why this happened to me and to her. Or I could say, I was so lucky to have such a wonderful fur baby in my family, and I'm so happy that I was able to give her the gift to not suffer. So, I mean, you can look at things in two different ways, and they're both correct if you decide they are. So, perspective, I think, is really important.
I agree. I really agree with that.
Journaling also strengthens emotional function. So you become more aware of self. It invokes mindfulness. It helps brain regulate emotions. It builds self confidence. It's calming and cleansing of the mind, and you have better mood management, which I find really interesting. Probably because the trauma is lessened, like we were just talking about in the beginning, right?
Right. Right. Because the part of your brain is not stimulated so much.
Hmm.
That is, the stressful part of your brain.
Right. And if you have a mental illness that maybe bipolar disorder or something where you have a hard time regulating your emotions as it is, this could be really beneficial to keep you balanced, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree. Um, it's important for people to stay balanced we just don't talk about mental health enough or put enough emphasis on it yet. I
Right.
think that it's growing, and
Hmm.
that's wonderful. I see that the new generation is very aware of mental illness, and that makes
They're
me happy.
amazing.
They,
They're
they really are
amazing.
amazing. I don't care
Hmm.
what people say. They're amazing. They really
I
are
love the new
amazing. They're going to be great.
generation. Good job, you guys. I mean, seriously, like think about how they are with everything. They're so open-minded
They
and they're
really
so
are.
supportive. Hmm.
And they're
So, but
loving.
you
Hmm.
have got to give yourself some credit though, because one of the things that I've always admired about you is your willingness to be honest on social media and talk about mental illness and try to take the
Aw,
stigma away from it. And so
right.
when we decided to do this together, I was really excited because um, I consider you one of the strongest advocates that I know. So give yourself some credit too. But yes, the new generation,
Well,
I love them. I love them.
I do. I love them too.
Hmm.
And we're not just saying that because she has
No.
kids of that generation.
No, we're not.
Maybe we're trying to get some extra points with our editor. I don't know.
Right? Editor's gonna laugh at that one. Anyway,
We love you.
we love you. Okay.
Yeah.
So the next journal prompt is there anything about my physical pain that's tied to emotional trauma or suffering? Oh my goodness.
We're going to do a podcast on this. This is a
Right?
whole thing.
It is. It
I
is.
have fibromyalgia. I have, um, well, just the fibromyalgia alone. We'll just take the fibromyalgia alone. Anytime that I have emotional trauma, I have a flare up. There is
Mhm.
no stopping it. It's not every now and then. It's if I have a lot of not trauma, but if I have a lot of stuff going on in my life, a lot of stress going on in my life, I will flare up. It's just always bound to happen.
That happens with me too. If I'm really stressed out, like emotionally stressed and hurt, I'm definitely gonna have a lupus flare. There's just no getting around it.
Right. It's
So yeah. But one of the things I thought of when I saw this question was the thought of always having pain really brought on a strong depression in me especially when I was first going through it and my
yeah.
disease wasn't well managed. So just the thought of my entire rest of my life there would be pain involved really was hard for me to deal with. So um, and then of course, the more depressed you get, the more pain you have. It's just like this horrible cycle that you can't get out of until you're willing to get out of it, until somebody helps you, until,
Right.
yeah. So, I thought of that when I
Yeah.
saw this question, but I do believe that emotional trauma from the past can bring on the the diseases that we have now. There's obviously a body and mind connection, like we've been saying, um,
Right.
but that's another podcast.
Right. It's like let's just say people tell me if it's in my mind, I'm like, okay, so is your lungs moving and your
Hmm.
heart beating, because if your brain didn't tell it to, it wouldn't happen.
That's good.
So so
That's
that's
good.
that. So
Right.
that's that. That's how you say there is definitely a mind body connection, because your brain is,
But why don't we think about that
you
when we
know,
think of trauma and suffering? I mean, I think
people
some of
don't
us
think
have
of
a lot of
things.
shame. Well, I think we have a lot of
Right.
shame around our trauma too, right? So we don't want to really admit that it
Definitely.
has anything to do with anything because we don't want to
Right.
admit that it's a problem.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
It takes a lot to admit that.
Carly Saunders, who's been on the podcast, what, 4 times? The coach, the relationship abuse coach that we love so much. So, what does she have to say?
Well, I told Carly we were doing a thing on journaling today because we just did her boot camp and she's big on journaling. And
Mm-hmm.
she said that she would say consistency is key. Consistency is where your brain begins to find a rhythm and unlock things that you don't even know were there.
Wow.
Isn't that something? And that's true.
Yeah.
It's true
Yeah.
because in my journaling, I'm finding that my brain is opening up more. I'm starting to remember more of my childhood. I'm starting to remember more things that have been shut off to me, whether they're good or they're bad. So journaling opens you up to the good and the bad things. Um, and you have to deal with both. You have to just be a trooper and go through it. It's hard and it causes, I'm trying to think of the right word. It causes you to be enlightened about the good and the bad things. So it being enlightened about the bad things, sometimes, we have bad feelings or even get triggered. So we have to be careful when we're journaling also. Just, keep an
Well,
eye
it
on
puts
yourself
you,
and
yeah, it puts you in a vulnerable position, and
very
but the only way you can grow is to be vulnerable. So, but I
right.
imagine if you suppress all of the bad trauma, a lot of those good memories are going to be buried there too. So, uncovering all of
Right.
that is messy, but you're going to come out the other side a stronger person, and having that vulnerability is nothing to be afraid of because it is where you grow.
The mantra for the week is, I do not sit down at my desk to put into verse something that is already clear in my mind. If it were clear in my mind, I should have no incentive or need to write about it. We do not write in order to be understood. We write in order to understand. C.S. Lewis.
That is so powerful.
It really is. It gives me
Yeah.
chills every time I read
I
it.
know, I get goosebumps. I know. It's amazing. What a perfect way to close this podcast. So we hope everybody enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to get your journals and start writing. And remember that we are stronger together. See you next time.
Don't forget to mask up. Peace out.
Unified through chronic and mental illness can be found at anchor.fm/unified. There you can find all social media links as well as other ways to listen.